Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to make this fantastic little wine rack. It's quite easy to make and I think it looks really effective. And for this project I've used a wood called Obeche, that's O-B-E-C-H-E, and it's less than 1 millimetre thick, so it's like almost like a veneer. So you could use any sort of fine veneer wood. Have a look at my working with wood video and that will give you some tips on other woods that would be suitable for this type of project. And this is good because you need tiny little pieces, so I've used pieces here out of my scrap box which I keep. And then for the sort of dowel across here I've just used cocktail sticks. And always sort of go for the sort of thinner ones. You'll find in these packs that some of them are just slightly thicker. So find out your sort of thinnest ones that you've got and use those. And then I also use a cocktail stick to apply the glue, which I dispense onto just a piece of card. It makes it easier to apply. You'll need your craft knife. I use this Swan Morton one, which takes a size 10A blade. Always put a new blade in at the start of a project, especially something like this, where you need to cut quite fine pieces of wood. Steel rule, obviously for measuring and for using with your knife for cutting the wood. Nice sharp pencil for accurate marking, and then a good wood glue. I use this Gorilla wood glue, and a 500 grade or a fine grade sandpaper, and I like to cut it into small, more manageable pieces. And then just a selection of 12 scale wine bottles. Enjoy making miniatures. You might like my new book, which I'm going to shamelessly plug now. It's called Making Doll's House Miniatures in 1/12 scale. There's over 50 projects in there, which I think you might enjoy. And I've done a review of the book on my channel. Just go to my list of videos and you'll find it there. I think it might be something you'll like. Okay, so the cutting list is coming up next, and then we'll get started. Okay, so we're going to begin by rounding both ends of each of the supports. So because we're using quite a thin wood, support the piece of wood as high up as you can with your finger, and then you'll just sweep a piece of sandpaper over the corner like that, and on the other side. And I'm using a fine grade sandpaper, a 500 grade. Okay, so do that with all pieces. And then take 2 of the medium supports. I'm going to make a pencil mark 12 millimeters or 7/16 of an inch from one end. Okay, so just draw a faint line across the piece. That's 12 millimeters or 7/16 of an inch across the piece, and then the end that you've made the mark from becomes the top. So just put those over there like that, and then take a long support, and we want to make a pencil mark 12 millimeters and 24 millimeters from this end, and that's 7/16 of an inch and 15/16 of an inch, like that. And then lay the long support beside the medium so that the tops of each piece are level, and you can use the grid on your cutting mat to make sure. And then just take short support, and I've got some glue here that I've dispensed onto a piece of card. I'm going to use a cocktail stick to apply it. So just take a tiny bit and just put a dot at the top of each of those supports. A bit there, and then we're going to join the top of each one together with a short support. And the short support should sit right at the top of those 2. And if you want to use tweezers to sort of handle the parts, then please do so. It can be quite tricky. I'm just making sure that that's flush at the top there. And again, just use the lines on your cutting mat to make sure that it's all straight. And you can use your ruler as well, so the gap we've got up there should be the same as it is down here. Okay, and then that piece will go there. And we're now going to take another medium support and we're going to glue it so it sits just below those pencil lines, and the end of it will attach to the top of this medium support here. So again, just apply little dots of glue just below the pencil line and to the top of that medium support. Just pull that one down and then glue that one across first. And then glue that one under there. Now I'm aware that we're sort of working from sort of front to back here, but I couldn't think of another way of doing it to make it as easy as this. I think it'll all come clear as we move further on in the project. I'm just pulling that one out a little bit to make sure that I've got the same distance between each. I just gently press it all together. Okay, and then take a short support, and that's going to go down here. So we now want to bring a long support, and it will be the bottom of this one beneath the pencil line there and the top of this one. So again, apply your dots of glue. Oops, a little bit much there. So below that line, below there, and at the top of the short one there. And again, touch the end. That needs to come in a little bit. Like that, and again press it all together. And then finally we're going to attach a support along these bottom three. A little blob of glue at the bottom of each one. And then lay that across. Press it down. Just make sure that everything's staying square. And then this is actually now the front of our wine rack. And once that's dry, we'll be turning it over and attaching the dowel. Now just push that to one side. Try not to pick it up because it might just come apart, but just slide it across your work surface. And then I just wanted to show you how to cut the cocktail stick. So remove the end, and I find that if you roll it along like that, it's easier. And then you just want to very gently sand that end so that it's flat, and then you can measure and cut for the dowel, and again sand the cut end, otherwise it leaves like a little bobble and they won't sit flush. So we'll leave that to dry and then we'll come back and attach the dowel. Okay, so once you've allowed enough time for the glue to dry and that piece can be handled, turn it over, and then we want to apply a piece of dowel to each of these joins. So just put a little blob of glue, a couple of them, and then attach the dowel. This is normally where it comes away, sort of stuck to my finger. Like that. And then do your next bit of glue. can always work from top to bottom, because then you're not sort of interfering with the bits that you've already done. Get them as upright as you can, but you don't have to measure or anything, because when we attach the final supports it'll all sort of square itself up. And the final one, okay, now that piece can be left to dry, and do make sure you allow enough time for the glue to dry, otherwise it will all just fall apart when we come to attach the remaining supports. Okay, so once you've allowed enough time for the glue to dry, we can begin attaching the remaining supports, and we're basically doing a mirror image of these supports that are on the inside. So just apply a little dot of glue to the first two pieces of dowel, and then you can glue on a short piece. And again, tweezers might be helpful here. My hands are quite big anyway, and when I'm doing things like this they feel like giant's hands. Just very gently push that down, and then we're doing a medium support across there. And even though the glue has dried, you should still be able to move those dowels a little bit. So if they're not exactly under the support, you can just very gently push them into place. And then a long support. And then the final medium. Oops, that's a long one. Okay, and then the final supports will be attached as a mirror image of those ones that are on the bottom there. But I'm sure you can sort of see how it's working now. It took me a while to figure it out when I was cutting the pieces. So we've got a short one there. And you can leave it sort of before you do this stage to dry a bit more if you feel more comfortable doing that. Just for the sake of the video, I'm just sort of cracking on with it really. And just follow where your dowel is to know where to put your little dot of glue. Little projects of this, like this, are quite fiddly, but I think it's really worth it. I think people will be really impressed to see one of these in your doll's house or your scene. And if you find, like I am here, that you've got a support that's rocking, It's probably because one of the pieces of dowel is just very, very slightly longer than the others. But because we're using such a thin wood here, it can be manipulated. So I'm just sort of pushing down the ends. I think that central one is just slightly longer. And if it's still not sticking, you can just weigh that down with something at the end. And the final one. Oops, I just didn't put those quite near enough the end. Okay, so just use a spare cocktail stick to remove any little bits of excess glue. And then, although it's quite fragile, it is sort of structurally quite strong. So I'm just going to use, let's find a piece of card, lay that on there like that, and just do this very, very gently. And I'm just going to put a little pot of paint on there, which isn't too heavy, but heavy enough just to weigh down those supports that weren't quite sticking. And I'll leave that for a few minutes. And there is our completed wine rack. I think that looks really good. I hope you enjoyed this project. If so, please do subscribe to the channel, as there's lots more to come. And please have a look at my new book as well that I talked about, because if you liked this, I'm sure you'll like a lot of the projects in there. And you can see a review of the book as well on my channel. Just look at my videos and you'll find it there. And for now, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.